I just got through reading Yellow Wife. I already posted a video about this, but I finished it now. And if you have never read a book of someone who was enslaved, you need to read it, even if it's just one. I'm realizing that it's so many dimensions of enslavement. So you have, I hate that I forget names. Pheby, like I said in the previous video, you know she is biracial. They call it mulatto because her father, the master of the plantation, that's her father. Fast forward, the jailer, as she calls him, I didn't know there was such a thing as to punish, as it wasn't already punishment enough. To punish enslaved Africans, you would send them to these jails where they would experience extreme punishment, flogging to the point you think they were getting whipped on the plantation. It was worse at these jails. And then eventually they will be sold. Some were left to die. It was a lot going on. So he owned one of these. And she was the mistress of this. I forgot the name of it. I'll put the title. Matter of fact, Devil's Half Acre is what it's called. But it's a jail in Richmond, Virginia. So she has to prepare the girls who eventually get sold into to another person. Or pretty much it was a brothel. But I heard you got to read Yellow Wife, then House of Eve, which is, I'm going to read that. I think I'm going to take a break though and read something that's lighter. And then you're supposed to read The Lost Children. So The Keeper of the Lost Children. So I ordered that and that's coming, I think, tomorrow. But back to Pheby. I'm sorry, y'all. So Pheby is in this really precarious, and I don't even think precarious is the right word to use. At the end of the day, she's a black woman. She's a biracial. She's a mulatto. She is the mistress. She's not his wife. He treats her as such. She has 50 million babies by him because he can't keep his hands off of her. But she doesn't lay in his room after he's done with her. She's supposed to go over to her quarters. Eventually, sometimes he's lax. Now, what he doesn't realize, and what she doesn't realize at first, when she arrives to the plantation, to the jailhouse, she's pregnant by the love of her life who escaped. That was a spoiler alert. Make sure I put that in there. That was a spoiler. So she has this baby. And her thing is, if you're going to make me the mistress, you need to make sure you don't ever sell my son to someone else. He needs to stay here. He is not a slave. And the reality is they are all slaves. And it trips me out. He'll say stuff like, you're an in lover. You're sleeping with her. Like, stuff like that. And it's so much I want to say. This video may go longer than I wanted to. But between that and just how she thinks she has some level of power, but then she finds out real quick when some stuff goes down, she does not have as much power as she thinks she does. And that's when she realizes she does not have as much power as she thinks she does. That's when she realizes, I need to get my son out of here. And how she's able to turn Essex's story, because I had heard about a certain part, what happens to Essex later on in the story. I heard about that. Don't put it in the comments. I heard about it in the book talk that was at Read Freely. So I kept wondering, when's it going to happen? When is it going to happen? So when it finally popped up, the building up to it, I was like, oh. Because how they come full circle is mind-boggling. But this is what, when people talk about, we just got to get over it. Over what? This was a woman, yes, she was biracial, who had to watch. She never claimed that she was better. You have certain people I know within our culture and our history that once they went over as white, they were white. So if you have not, matter of fact, I got the book and I'm gonna read it. If you have not watched Passing, I know it's on Netflix. That was a good depiction of a woman who they realized she had been passing all that time and no one had known. So there's many other movies like that and stories like that. But there are people who are passed and they will act like, I don't know these people. Pheby wasn't that person. Pheby was that person who, even, there was a part in the book where her daughters were playing auction block. Pheby sat there like, what, the ham sandwich? No. And she was like, and the oldest, she wasn't the oldest. Monroe was the oldest, but I can't remember the oldest girl's name. I don't know why I can't think of her name right now, because she's the one that writes the letter at the end of the story. But she's, I'm just repeating what Daddy said. And she was like, we don't. And after how I'm saying it, it's not how Pheby said it, but she was like, we do not. There are people, there are lives, there are people being ripped apart from each other. This is not something we play with. We don't play with this. So it's so eye-opening. She said something that was so powerful. She said, she looked at Essex and she said, I may not wear my scars. You may not be able to see my scars, but just know that I'm wounded just like you. She didn't say, that wasn't exactly the quote, but pretty much don't think that I'm living this high and mighty life. And that's the sad part, that a lot of people thought that if they were living in the big house, if they were attending to the enslaver, they always thought, oh, she thinks she's better. And you didn't realize the horrific things they had to endure. Because let's be real, that evil man was attracted to you. So not only did you have to serve him, you had to sleep with him unwillingly. And this is the type of stuff they try to keep out. Now let's be real, this is not meant to be in a high school, but I truly believe that these are the type of stories that they are trying to keep out, because they don't want us. I said this in the other video. They don't want us, for them to know our history and the multi layers of the trauma that some of us are still carrying.